2 men, 1 pyramid, and a secret buried for 4,000 years. Egypt's priests guarded it. A Harlem mystic revived it. Neville Goddard proved it. Now, it's reaching you, as you are the next in the lineage. The same words that pharaohs used to shape the pyramids still shape your life today. In the next few minutes, you'll uncover the 4,000-year-old manifestation code, hidden in temples, revived in Harlem, and now reaching you. But first, you need to understand where those words came from. Long before any sermon, Egypt's priests practiced a science of creation, a law they said could shape the fabric of reality. They believed every human carried a divine architect within, an inner self that could command matter through feeling and word. But here's what made their method different from prayer or wishful thinking. They didn't beg, they didn't hope, they commanded. At dawn, an initiate faced still water, not to see his reflection, but to change it. He held the image until feeling consumed him, then spoke one phrase, "It is done." They called it Heka, the word that becomes world. The same power Moses used when he raised his staff, not to beg for a miracle, but to command the waters to part. The same force that made a way when there was none. To science, it's the observer effect. To psychology, the collective unconscious. To Egypt, Heka, 3 names, 1 law. Why am I telling you this? Because this isn't history, it's your inheritance. And before this video ends, you'll remember it. For 4,000 years, that knowledge moved through secret lineages, guarded by mystics who knew the truth. Consciousness shapes the world, not the other way around. The language changed, the law did not, waiting in silence for its next keeper. Until one winter night in 1931, it surfaced again, ready for the next keeper of the law. Neville Goddard hasn't been home to Barbados in years. Christmas is approaching, and all he wants is to see his family. But he's broke, trapped in New York, with no money for passage. Then a name surfaces, Abdullah, a mystic in Harlem who doesn't teach manifestation. He demonstrates it. They say he can transport consciousness across oceans. That imagination, in his hands, becomes law. Neville finds the address, climbs those steps. When he knocks, Abdullah opens the door and says something shocking.
"You're 6 months late. The brothers told me to expect you."
They'd never met before. Neville stood there, stunned. What brothers? How could he be late for a meeting that was never arranged? But Abdullah already knew Neville was the next in the lineage. He'd been waiting.
"I want to get home to Barbados to spend Christmas with my family I haven't seen in so long. I heard you can help me."
Creation is finished. You do not make things happen. You awaken what already is.
"You don't understand. I have no ticket, no money, no way home. Work has dried up."
You are in Barbados now. Sleep in that feeling. Do nothing else.
Every rational part of his mind screamed, "This is madness." But Abdullah spoke as the Egyptian priests once did, not to describe the world, but to reorder it.
Hear your mother's laughter in the next room. Smell the salt in the air. You are in Barbados.
He was teaching Neville to speak the unseen as fact, to betray the evidence of his senses, to look at lack and call it abundance, to feel cold and call it warmth, to see distance and call it home. This was Heka, the word that becomes world, not poetry, mechanics. The same law Egypt's initiates had practiced before dawn for 4,000 years, to stop wishing and start assuming. For a moment, something shifted. A flicker of heat, a trace of salt in the air, as if part of him had already arrived. Years later, Neville wrote,
"An awakened imagination works with a purpose. It creates reality out of feeling. The world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself. Change the inner assumption, and the outer world has no choice but to follow, because what you feel is true that you become."
And what he did next would decide everything, because over the next 3 weeks, Neville would test Abdullah's words and prove that the Egyptian code still worked. Neville didn't believe Abdullah at first, but he was desperate enough to try. Night after night, he did something strange. He didn't visualize being in Barbados someday. He didn't hope to be there. He remembered being there. He felt the Caribbean heat on his skin, heard the sound of waves he hadn't heard in years, smelled the salt air of home. Most importantly, He felt the relief. Not the excitement of going. The relief of already being there. Years later, Neville wrote,
You must make your future dream a present fact by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to feel a state as real, and live in it is to let it manifest in your world. If you persist in that assumption, though it feels false at first, the assumption, if sustained, will harden into fact.
But here's what happened that he didn't expect. The more vividly he felt Barbados, the less real New York became. Some nights, he would forget where he actually was. The imagined feeling became more real than his physical surroundings. And that's when doubt struck hardest. He'd open his eyes. Bank account, still empty. Ticket office, still too expensive. Reality, still impossible. This is where most people quit. The technique feels good in the moment. But when you open your eyes and nothing's changed, doubt floods back. You return to being realistic. And what Abdullah did next became the most important lesson Neville ever received. Weeks of practice, no results. Neville returned.
I've done everything you told me, and I'm still here, stuck in New York. Nothing's changed.
You are in Barbados now, and you went there first class.
Abdullah turned his back, then slam, closes the door. Not rejection, instruction. Shut the door on doubt itself. That moment, that physical closing of the door, was Abdullah demonstrating what most people never do, refusing to acknowledge any reality except the one they've chosen. The Egyptians had practiced this same refusal. Standing before still water at dawn, they would not acknowledge their current reflection. They saw only who they intended to become. That's the physics Abdullah was teaching.
Dare to assume it. Dare to believe in the reality of your assumption, and watch the world play its part.
Neville walked home in silence, and something shifted. He stopped arguing with the technique, stopped checking for signs. He simply lived as a man, already in Barbados. Then it happened. 3 days later, a letter arrived. Inside, a first-class ticket to Barbados, paid in full. His brother had sent it, out of nowhere, with no explanation. But that was only the beginning. What Neville had just proven was older than he knew. The Egyptians called their god of creation Thoth, the one who spoke the universe into being through the word. That same current flowed through Hermetic schools, through Kabbalistic mystics, through hidden orders that preserved the law in fragments. Thoth spoke the world into being. The priests commanded matter with words, and you carry that same power. Neville became the next vessel in an unbroken line, the keeper of the same current that once flowed through the pharaohs.
Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and observe the route that your inner self takes. Do not concern yourself with how it will happen. Your inner self will orchestrate the bridge of incidents, leading you to the fulfillment. You move the world not by might nor by power, but by a change of consciousness.
Notice what he's really saying. He's not telling you to visualize a future outcome. He's telling you to assume, to live from the end as if it's already accomplished. Most people get this wrong, and it's probably why your past attempts haven't worked. They imagine having what they want. They see themselves receiving it, acquiring it, celebrating getting it. All of that assumes they don't have it yet. The Egyptians did the opposite. They didn't imagine wealth coming to them. They stood in the temple as wealthy men, feeling the weight of gold already in their hands.
You must move into the state of the wish fulfilled, not as something to come, but something already achieved. Dare to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Dare to feel yourself rich when your pockets are empty. Dare to feel loved when no one calls your name. Dare to assume you are what you want to be, and you will compel every event in the world to aid in making it so.
Think about the difference. When you imagine having something, your feeling is anticipation. When you imagine having already had it for years, your feeling is satisfaction. That satisfaction, that relief, is what the universe responds to.
Do not wish. Assume. Enter the end. Live there in mind until it feels natural. Words have no power except the feeling that backs them.
This is critical. The Egyptians knew this. Heka wasn't just speaking a word, it was speaking with the full force of feeling behind it. Modern neuroscience discovered something the Egyptians knew 4,000 years ago. The brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you imagine with enough sensory detail and emotional intensity, your brain encodes it as memory, and your behavior unconsciously shifts to match that memory.
Signs follow. They never precede. Creation is finished. You are only awakening what already exists. If you wait for proof before you assume, you'll wait forever, for proof only appears after belief. Don't look for proof. Don't check for evidence. All of that is doubt wearing a polite mask. A change of feeling is a change of destiny. There is no one to change but self. Be careful of your moods and feelings, for there is an unbroken connection between your inner state and your outer world.
He wasn't quoting philosophy. He was describing what he had lived, and his students had miraculous results. A woman imagined winning the lottery. She felt the joy, the excitement, the celebration every night before sleep, but she never bought a ticket. Weeks later, a friend told her, "I entered your name for fun." That ticket won, exactly the way she had imagined it. A man lived as employed, wearing a suit, commuting every day, feeling and assuming employment. Days later, a company he'd never contacted created a role for him. Neville called them demonstrations, not miracles, proof of law. The same law the Egyptians had carved into temple walls. Now let me show you the three-step formula they both used. Step 1. The Ka. See it as done, not hope, fact. The Egyptians stood before water until their reflection shifted, until they saw not who they were, but who they intended to become. This is why Abdullah taught, imagine from the end, not of the end. See through the eyes of the person who already has it. What do you see around you? What relief do you feel? Stay there until it feels more real than your current circumstances. Step 2. The Heka. Speak it into vibration. I am wealthy. I am healed. I am free. Neville said, words have no power except the feeling that backs them. The ancient priests spoke one word at dawn. It is done. Notice they didn't say, I will be. They said, I am. Present tense, absolute. Words live only when feeling moves behind them.
You say I am before you claim what you want to be, and when you say I am, you are declaring yourself to be that which you desire.
Act 3. The Sahu. Become it. Feel the new identity until the old one fades. Neville taught,
you are already that which you seek. Act as if you were, and you will draw it to you.
This is where most people abandon the practice, and why it never manifests. They check their bank account and say, I'm still broke. They look in the mirror and say, I'm still sick. They feel their loneliness and say, I'm still alone. Every time they do that, they crack the door open, and doubt slips back through the gap. Real faith keeps it closed, unmoved, unafraid, blind to anything but the end already won. The Egyptians called this final stage Sahu, the transfigured body. The moment the Ka becomes flesh, they would live as their ideal self for days, weeks, months, until the old identity dissolved completely. Neville did the same. For 3 weeks, he lived as a man already in Barbados, refusing to acknowledge any other reality. When imagination and feeling unite, matter rearranges. And here's what Abdullah's final teaching revealed. When you speak, I am, the same force that raised the sun answers you. He wasn't speaking of worship, he was speaking of awakening, because Egypt's true temple was never made of stone. It was built in consciousness, and that temple lives inside you. The lineage was never broken. It only changed its language. The same current that moved through Thoth, through the pharaohs, through Moses, through Abdullah, through Neville, moves through you now. You are not apart from it. You are it. Every image you hold with conviction is instruction to the universe. Every word you speak from feeling is creation in motion. So tonight, take one desire, not many one. Close your eyes, see it as done, feel it as memory, not hope. Whisper the ancient phrase, it is finished. Then let the world catch up to what you have already imagined. Because imagination is creation, the rest is remembering. Type it now, it is done. That's how the lineage continues. Because imagination is creation, the rest is remembering. Subscribe for more on Neville, Abdullah, and the ancient techniques that still work. Because imagination is creation, and the words you whisper are law. If you want to understand Neville more deeply, watch Neville Goddard, the movie, The Man Who Declared, You Are God. It tells his full life story and how these teachings shaped him.